Yo, what up guys, it's your boy Navi Drizzle, and today we have a different kind of video for you. Today I'm gonna be ranking all the extreme units and which one I think is the best, right? We're ranking them from the best one all the way to 16th worst unit in the game, or worst extreme unit in the game, which I'm just gonna go ahead and put her on there. We already know who it is. It's Big Mom. I did a video on her. She is without a doubt the worst unit. She just aged poorly. She needs to be reworked. Older units than her have been reworked. We already have original Marineford Shanks and Blackbeard that got reworked back in February. So we're just hoping for her. And yeah, I mean, without further ado, let's get started on the next one. So top 15. I don't think it's gonna be controversial. I feel like a lot of people could understand where I'm coming from. I'm gonna put Blackbeard. Now, Blackbeard did get buffed back in February, but I feel like all that buff did was just make him usable, right? Like, he's still decent. You can still get a lot of damage with him. The main problem with this guy is just that unless you're fighting a power user, right? Which they're very common, don't get me wrong, but you have people like Shanks running around. You have people like Zoro running around, right? Who can just do damage to this guy. You have plenty of units that give him status effect, and this guy doesn't have status effect. The best move this guy has is invincibility on his skill 2, his black hole, right, where he just he sucks everything up, his AoE attack. That's really good. It does, I believe that's the move that does 200%. No, I think Kurozu, the one that he uses to pull you in, that's the one that does extra damage to power users. But I just feel like overall his kind of buff was lackluster, in the sense that, like, it was a good buff for overall balance of the game, right? Didn't make him too broken, but they definitely didn't make him as good as people would have wanted him to. And at this point, we're just waiting for a V2 Blackbeard, and I feel like, 15th is the perfect spot for him. I don't feel like he's just that much better. He can be, right? A lot of these units, I'm ranking them, right? But I do want to preface this. I'm ranking these guys firstly on my opinion and my experience of the game, but mainly, like, they're just so close. Like, they're still extreme units. They're still very good. Blackbeard's still better than like 90% of the rest of the units, right? He's still very dominant, or at least he can be very dominant. But compared to the other guys on this roster, he's 15th. Now we're moving on to 14th. 14th might be a little controversial, but I just feel like he just doesn't do much anymore, and I'm actually putting Kaido. Now, for a lot of people, they're gonna be like, yo, what, this guy's still good. He definitely fell off, though. He definitely fell off when Film Red Shanks came out, and he's fallen off even now because there's better defenders out there, right? Like, if you're somebody who has this Kaido or Olin, you're gonna be using Olin over this Kaido because you have the 150% charge up for the treasure with her, and she does, she has better skills. This guy is, like, honestly purely a defender. He still does a lot of damage, don't get me wrong. If you manage to charge up his dragon attack, his Boro breath, you can still do a lot of damage. Those meteors, they're really good for that AoE, that coverage. It's nice, right? Strategically, he's still very good. I just feel like he's been countered, though. Like, I don't think he does enough running blue. Like, when I was playing in the championships, the trial runs or whatever, hardly anybody was running blue Kaido because it just wasn't like a good option. It really wasn't. There was just better units out there. There was better blue units. I hope in the future this guy, he's obviously gonna get buffed, but we have hybrid Kaido that kind of replaced him. Hybrid Kaido is just better. He honestly does more damage. He's more, he changes the game a lot more. I'll talk about him in the future, but for right now, I do feel like blue Kaido is 14th. I know some people think he should be a little bit higher, but 14 seems pretty good for me. Now 13th is actually going for Shanks. Now this Shanks, I have him 13th, but this Shanks, in the hands of a very skilled player, if you manage to stack that attack, he becomes one of the best units in the game, right? He's probably like second only to a fully stacked Film Red Shanks in terms of damage, because he does a lot of damage, and that counter is nice. If you can pull off those counters, you can get kills pretty easily, right? Because it does a lot of damage. But I feel like just picking him up, his normals are nice and fast, but there's just a lot of better units, right? He can still get status affected. You can still one-shot him. You know, he's not immune to that. His counter is pretty easy to read nowadays. Like, if you just know, like, hey, if you walk up close and a Shanks isn't attacking you and they're just like waiting, you know, they're just waiting for an animation so they can pop the counter. Like, it's pretty easy to read. But a really good player is, you know, it's nice to come by, and every now and then you'll see, you know, a Marine Force Shanks get 7 kills or something like that. It's pretty dope. But I think 13th is good. I have him above Kaido because I feel like he just does a lot more in terms of, like, he just gets kills faster. And I don't know, I just like him more than Kaido, to be honest. I feel like that counter's nice if you manage to stack him. Maybe because personally, like, I don't want to like toot my own horn type of shit and be like, oh, I'm good with him, so I feel like he's that good. But if you wanted to swap these two, if it was like that for you, it's fine. But 13th is where I have him. Let's move on to the next one. The next one, I think, should be pretty standard. Like, a lot of people probably won't complain too much. I have Odin. I feel like Odin he's definitely still good. I did do a video on this guy, and like I said in that video, if you manage to focus on the flags and only attack when you need to, and just, you know, do that, you'll do very well. You can get like high captures with this dude, and like your team will love you. Because if you just play that way, you just play as a runner and then occasionally attack, that's the best, you know, way to play this dude. It's just a lot of people don't play that way because you have runners like King, right? King does a lot of damage to attackers. You have runners like Hybrid Kaido, who also do damage. Fucking Kid and Law, they're like so offensively capable that this guy is as well. Don't get me wrong, you know, Tosca Paradise or whichever one it is does a lot of damage still, but he's squishy. You know, he's not as defensive. If you stack up defense with Kid and Law, you're tanking shit. If you know, Kaido's naturally defensive. Some of these characters have shields. This guy is lacking in that, but obviously because he is over 2 years old, right? He's 2.5 years old now. He's due for a rework soon, right? Obviously, Big Mom is up next, but he's right after. Him and Roger are right after. And speaking of Roger, I have Roger right above this guy. And I feel like, you know, Roger falling out of the top 10 is definitely something I didn't see happening 2 years ago. He was just a freaking monster. Roger and Odin was an insane meta. If you were there around that time, bro, oof, that was the worst, man. Because they were like easily the most overpowered. Like, dude, I was around where Shanks and Blackbeard, and that was just as toxic. But I feel like Roger and Odin were even more so, because that's when like the player base was bigger, and so you had a lot more re-rollers. You had a lot more of these guys running around. But yeah, dude. Roger, I put him here because I feel like as a new player, if you manage to get him, you can pick him up, you can do well. You stack his Kamusari. If you manage to get that Kamusari stack, you do a lot of damage. It's just that there's a lot of units that can, you know, just outplay him at this point, right? Like, I do think he is better than everybody below him, but I feel like the next couple units definitely put him in his place. Obviously, when he gets reworked, right, he's up due with Odin, right? He'll probably be, you know, up in top 3, probably the best unit in the game. However, you know, much they want to rework him. But moving on, the people who I think are above him, funny enough, I'm gonna put Zephyr. Zephyr's really good. You know, I'll put him top 10. He's really good because he does extra damage to power users. He does damage reduction, is insane. Right, obviously you got to be careful with Film Red Shanks because he ignores damage reduction, but this guy is nice. You can hold EX Luffy at bay, Kid and Law at bay, Yamato at bay. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of these units you can do well just because they're power users, and he's just defensively just tanky, bro. Like, it is what it is. Like, the best way I could describe this dude is he's just a stalling unit. Like, you're there. You can do damage with him. Obviously, you get team boost and you get that 200% extra to, you know, power users. You can kill people, right, with that skill 1. But mainly what you want to do is just spam that normal attack, get those knockbacks, heal up, and then just stall. And then just hope you have an attacker teammate or somebody who can come in and help you. But yeah, I do think he's better than Roger because I feel like, yeah, well, you can knock back Roger out of his skill too, his counter and everything. He is tanky enough to survive a Kamusari and a counter skill, and then you can knock back. Yeah, so it's pretty much just he's set up to be better than Roger. You can knock back Odin. Obviously, he's a green unit, so he's better than these two. And then yeah, I mean, I don't have to explain the others. Moving on though, we do have, I think this is when it starts to get a little bit spicy. So I'm gonna put Yamato up here. Yamato definitely fell off. She was the best runner in the game for a while. Even throughout the 3rd year, she was still like very dominant. And now I still think she still is, right? Like she has that counter. That counter comes out so fast. If you face many Yamatos, you know how it is, right? They attack, use the counter. Even if you wait it out, you attack them a little bit more, and then suddenly they get the counter back, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, how did it come back so fast? That counter being like 20 seconds or something like that's insane. Let's see. But I feel like, yeah, like she's just a good runner. If you mainly what you want to play with a lot of these runners that like fall off is just play the flag game. Get a flag, and if people rush you and they want to, you're strong enough to defend it. Her counter is strong enough to be able to like knock people back, do a lot of damage. But just go for the flags. Next, I have Akainu. Now Akainu, he just got his new banner, or you know, they're rerunning him, right? But he is 2 years old now. But despite being 2 years old, bro, right? Like Kaido's newer than he is, but I have him above Kaido because this dude's damage output is still very good. It's still nice having the 3 invincibilities, right? If you manage to be really good with perfect dodges, you can put those magma puddles and do very well. The only problem with this guy is that there's several units now that are running around with the ability to take away states, right? So he has the ability to apply himself with the mag, right? When he's able to have the long range abilities and all that, right? His Logia. But you have people like Zoro, you have people like King, who just take away the state, right? If you attack King and your parameters are boosted, I believe that's the criteria, which this guy does. He takes away the state, which sucks, right? Like obviously because they're based off that. That's a problem with Film Red Shanks. As you know, attacking King is the fact that his hockey state gets taken away. That's the only downside, is that there's characters like that in the meta, but he still does insane damage. You can still do your simple 1 2 3 combo and you'll be doing a lot of damage. It's still super annoying. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think he's solid. I think he's solid. Top 8 is a good decision for this guy. I don't think it's too out of the blue. I don't think it's too like, yo, what are you talking about? It's a good position for this guy. Now, moving on, these next one might get spicy, but hey, I'm putting Blue Yamato. Now, Blue Yamato it's very weird because it's an attacker, but it's one of the only attackers that you want to build HP and defense when using like a metal set, because her damage is mainly coming off of percentage, right? It's off the shield, it's off the frostbite. So you want her to be tanky just so she can get her shield back, get that skill 1 back. I believe it's skill 1. You get that skill 1, get the shield regeneration, and then apply those effects. But the reason I have her down here is because there's like a lot of other units that are meta right now that can do status nullification. Like for example, like Cracker, the new Uta, the Genesis Uta. Let's see, Shanks. If Shanks can apply his hockey state, get rid of the frostbite. And dude, if Shanks has that damage, Yamato's basically fodder. I'm just gonna be honest, because you can break the shield pretty easily, like 1 or 2 hits. If you're stacked up, you can break the shield in 1 hit, and then you have like that stagger. Dude, it's nice. But moving on, we have EX Luffy. I have him up here because of his just one-shot potential. Everybody knows it. You felt it. If he uses Bound Man on you and he gets that tremor effect, you're dead. You're basically dead, right? Because there's plenty of cases where that Bound Man does enough damage. You know, even characters that have second lives, he'll one-shot your first life, tremor you. So even though you recover and you come back, you're tremored, and then he kills your second life. Like, it's happened before. It's insane. This dude's one-shot potential. He was one-shotting people when he was like level 60 when he first came out, bro. Like, this guy because I believe it ignores defense. That's the reason why. Like, it's nice. Like, he's still nice, a good player with this guy. You know, you can switch over to a runner, capture flags. Good player, is still dominant. EX Luffy top 6, I think is a good position for him. And then the top 5, I don't think it's any surprise. I'm gonna start off with who I think is number 5, and it is Zoro. Zoro is such a good unit. He's very viable. The fact that he can change different colors is nice. The fact that he outputs so much damage is nice, right? You all felt it. You fought a Zoro, and dude, you're out hitting him, but he just face tanking everything, man, because he has that stagger resist. So he's just hitting you back, and he ends up doing more damage and he ends up killing you. That's like one of the most annoying things, but that's what makes the Zoro really good, right? And if you can land that Ashura and they hit you that one time, bro, it's over for them, right? Like you get that 9 hit off. It's basically a one shot. It's super nice. But I do have him top 5 because I feel like once you get up in this range, it's not just about damage output. It's about like what else you can do for the team. Speaking of which, I do have Hybrid Kaido as number 4. Reason being is because this dude just has the ability to capture flags so easily. If it wasn't for Kid in Law, I'd say pure runner, he's the best runner. But overall, I would say he's number 2, only behind the new Kid in Law. Because like this dude's normals is insane. Like, speaking of like stagger resist, this like doesn't even feel it, bro. You just spam this and it feels like it wins every single time. Like, it's insane. Fighting a normal battle with this guy, you're losing most of the time if you're not like Zoro himself. Cause like even when I had like Shanks or something, I'm like, dude, how the fuck are you like hitting me and I can't hit you? And then he does the recovery block. It's super annoying. It's such a good debuff to have, right? But you know, you have Kid in Law who have the ability to nullify that. And speaking of which, I have them directly above Hybrid Kaido because I just feel like they're just a better runner. You know, if you can get that defense up, these guys are so tanky, they're so versatile. The fact that they can capture treasure while people are still on there is super broken for a runner, right? Big Mom having it was broken, but a runner specifically having it at all times is crazy, man. Like, that's the reason I have him below Kaido, legit. It's just the fact that these guys can capture flags whenever. And Kaido has to wait. Like, he does a lot of damage, Ragnarok, all that recovery block, but so does Law. Law does the recovery block. He captures the treasure whenever he wants. He stacks defense. You know, you can heal. He does very well against Film Red Shanks because if, you know, Shanks takes away the HP reduction, you get that defense boost. So, I mean, these guys are nice. But moving on to top 2. Now, this one, might be a little controversial. They're very, you know, interchangeable, but I'll just put both of them. There's no need to have one out of the other. The reason I have Film Red Shanks, even though when I made a video on this guy, I was like, he's not gonna fall off. He's still gonna be the, you know, second best unit in the game if Luffy comes out and he's broken. The reason I have him as number 2 is because I feel like starting off, Big Mom is just better. Like, she just really is. Like, starting off, match starts, you know, going to the treasure flags, and you have the first interactions against the enemy team. I feel like Big Mom is just better. The fact that she has 2 invincibility moves, you can become a runner, capture the flag, right? She was the first one to introduce that. She can charge the flag even if people are on it, which is insane. She could be the only person on that flag, and she's still charging it up when, you know, there's multiple people. It's a really good trait for a runner. The fact that she has both the very beneficial traits, right? Being able to capture flag whenever and being able to charge the flag whenever is insane. But I do feel like, and here's the caveat, I do feel like when Film Red Shanks is fully built up and you have that full, I believe it's 70% or it's 100%, I forgot which one it is. If you have it fully stacked, fully built up, he is without a doubt the strongest unit in the game. You can one-shot basically anything. You will get a lot of KOs. You will be dominant. As long as you play smart and you just don't let people capture the flag, you can probably 5-0 pretty easily with this guy. Obviously, you got to keep in mind that the enemy team... Alright. The enemy team cannot have a really strong counter or just a really good player on the other team, because Film Red Shanks is very squishy. right? Like King can one-shot him, right? Uta can one-shot him, Zoro can one-shot him. Big Mom is legitimately a counter for him. That's the only reason I have Film Red Shanks as number 2, is because this last year has been nothing but units made to counter this guy, made to balance the meta, right? Like he was just so dominant. You have all these really strong red units, that now the red unit meta is a thing, right? Like that is without a doubt. Before it was with Shanks, you know, you had Shanks and you could run him with Zephyr, Odin, who was still pretty decent a year ago. And then it changed. Now you have people running King, Uta, Big Mom, Nami, right? Like all these really dominant red units in the hopes to counter Shanks, because even when you have really good blue units, right, like Cracker, Kid-in-Law, you know, Blue Kaido, Film Red Shanks is still a danger. Like he's still somebody you have to watch out for. And that's why I still have him number 2. I still think he is very dominant. He can definitely change the tides of a game. But I feel like a good Big Mom, bro. If you ever had like 3 Big Moms on the enemy team and they were all just on the treasure area, just locking everything down, bro, you're not winning that game unless Team Boost helps you, right? Unless you're getting recovery block kills out here left and right. But now with Kid-in-Law, it's a lot easier. But before Kid-in-Law, right, like triple Big Mom was basically a W for the enemy team. If they had like 3 Big Moms and a King running around, like it was over, bro. It really was. You couldn't do much. Having all those skills, invincible, and the fact that not only are they invincible skills, bro, but they do enough damage to kill is what's insane. But yeah, dude, I mean, if you manage to make it this far, bro, I'm out here ranting about the tier list. I don't know how many people are actually gonna watch all this stuff, but if you made it this far, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you would change a couple things. I do feel like there's a couple spots here that you could like interchange and I wouldn't have a problem with it. But this is just how I feel right now. I feel like this seems like a pretty solid. Keep in mind they're all extreme units. Every single one of these units except Big Mom is still very, very good. And even Big Mom's good against, you know, not the meta, right? If you go up against like other, you know, step up units, you can do very well. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.